Hello students, welcome to your English class. So we are on this chapter, We Are Not Afraid to Die, page number 15. We saw how the wave hit the wave walker and the family was hurt and they were trying hard to save themselves. Mary, narrator's wife, came and the narrator was hanging on the wheel. Then he instructed Mary to take the wheel. Take the wheel, I shouted as I scrambled for the hatch. He is not able to walk properly due to so much water on the boat. So he instructed Mary to take the wheel. Larry and Herb, the two crewmen, were pumping like madmen. There was so much water inside the boat that they were pumping it out. Broken timbers hung at crazy angles. Due to that hit of the wave, the timbers, the pieces of wood on the boat, were at crazy angles. The whole starboard side means the right side of the boat, bulged inwards due to the hit of the wave. It went inside. Clothes, crockery, charts, tins and toys sloshed about in deep water. Everything was drowned in the deep water. I half swam, half crawled into the children's cabin. Are you all right? I asked. Yes, they answered from an upper bunk. Bunk is an attached seat. But my head hurts a bit, said Suzanne, the 7-year-old girl. She said, my head hurts a bit, pointing to a big bump above her eyes. So she was having a bump above her eyes due to hit of something. I had no time to worry about bumped heads because he was trying to save the lives. So he did not just see that bumped head. After finding a hammer, screws and canvas, I struggled back on deck. Deck is the open space of the ship. With the starboard side bashed open, we were taking water with each wave that broke over us. So the right side of the ship was bashed open due to the hit of the wave. It was twisted, it was down, so they were getting water with each wave. If I could not make some repairs, we would surely sink. The water will get inside the boat and it will sink. Somehow I managed to stretch canvas and secure waterproof hatch covers across the gaping holes. Some water continued to stream below. Still there was some water below, but most of it was now being deflected over the side. It was now again going to the sea. More problems arose when our hand pumps started to block up with the debris floating around the cabins and the electric pump short circuited. So the wave also brought debris with it that is found in the sea, and due to that debris and due to the things on the boat, those were sunk in the water, the hand pumps started to block and the electric pump got short circuited. The water level rose threateningly. So the water level inside the boat was very threatening, warning. Back on deck, I found that our 2 spare hand pumps had been drenched overboard. So they were having some 2 spare hand pumps which were wet, along with the forestay sail, the jib, the dinghies and the main anchor. So they also had a forestay sail. Forestay sail is a kind of system to make the main mast stop from following backwards. Okay, it's the system of chains and ropes. Jib we have already discussed is in front of the ship, even before the masts. The dinghies are small boats. Whenever you urgently need some boat, your boat is going to sink, you take help of this. And the main anchor. Then I remembered we had another electric pump under the chart room floor. I connected it to an outpipe and was thankful to find that it worked. So they had an extra electric pump and it was working. The night dragged on with an endless, bitterly cold routine of pumping, steering, and working the radio. We were getting no replies to our mayday calls, which was not surprising in this remote corner of the world. So they were trying to connect to the whole system of mayday calls, which reply to the persons on the ship about their location, about some problem, about the help they need. So this is a system, but they were in such a remote corner of the world that there was no connection. Sue's head had swollen alarmingly because of that bump. Now her head was swollen. She had 2 enormous black eyes. Both the eyes were swollen, and now she showed us a deep cut on her arm. There was a deep cut on her arm. When I asked why she hadn't made more of her injuries before this, why she did not tell this before, she replied, I didn't want to worry you when you were trying to save us all. See the bravery of the child. She said, you were trying to save us, so I did not want to make you worried. This was about 2nd January. Now comes 3rd January. As I have told you, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. These are the whole chapter, and these are the very important dates if we talk about MCQs. By morning on January 3, the pumps had the water level sufficiently under control for us to take 2 hours rest in rotation. But we still had a tremendous leak somewhere. There was somewhere leak in the boat below the water line. Water line is the normal water, it comes in the ship. On checking, I found that nearly all the boat's main rib frames were smashed down to the keel. So main rib frames, you can say the main structure of the boat was smashed down to the keel. Keel is the thing, the whole system which was connected, the structure. It was smashed down. In fact, there was nothing holding up a whole section of the starboard hull except a few cupboard partitions. So the whole right side of the boat was completely out of the structure, and it was only, you can say, held up due to some partitions only. We had survived for 15 hours since the wave hit, the huge wave, but Wave Walker would not hold together long enough for us to reach Australia. It would be broken, so it would be hurled apart, the key, the screws, the system would be failed. I checked out charts and calculated that there were 2 small islands a few hundred kilometers to the east. One of them, Ile Amsterdam, was a French scientific base. Our only hope was to reach these pinpricks, these small islands in the vast ocean. But unless the wind and seas abated so we could hoist sail, our chances would be slim indeed. Unless they get proper wind and the seas, the weather is improved, they could not reach there. The great wave had put our auxiliary helping engine out of action. So they were having only few resources, and they just wanted to reach this island, Ile Amsterdam. They were failed, they would not be able to reach Australia, so they decided to reach this small island. The name is Ile Amsterdam. That was 3rd January. On January 4th, after 36 hours of continuous pumping, we reached the last few centimeters of water. Now we had only to keep pace with the water still coming in. We could not set any sail on the main mast, the main area. Pressure on the rigging would simply pull the damaged section of the hull apart. Rigging is again to hold the main mast. So if the people would be there would be pressure, then the section would be damaged. So we hoisted the storm jib and headed for where I thought the 2 islands were. Mary found some corned beef and cracker biscuits, and we ate our first meal in almost 2 days. But our respite, our relief was short-lived. At 4 p.m., black clouds began building up behind us. Within the hour, the wind was back to 40 knots. The wind was again speedy, and the seas were getting higher. The weather continued to deteriorate throughout the night, and by dawn on January 5, our situation was again desperate. So 4 January, again the weather was not good, and on 5th January, the situation was again desperate. When I went in to comfort the children, John asked, Terry, are we going to die? I tried to assure him that we could make it. So a 6-year-old child is asking his father, are we going to die? And the father assured him, no, we are going to make it. We'll do something. But Daddy, he went on, we aren't afraid of dying if we can all be together. You and Mummy, Sue and I. So this is here from where the title is taken of the chapter. The 6-year-old boy said, Daddy, we are not afraid to die. We are not afraid of dying if our whole family is together. I could find no words with which to respond, but I left the children's cabin determined to fight the sea with everything I had. With everything here means with every inch of power, with every strength I had. To protect the weakened starboard side, I decided to heave to with the undamaged port hull facing the oncoming waves. So he changed the position of the ship. The undamaged part was now in front of the waves. Using an improvised sea anchor of heavy nylon rope and 222 liter plastic barrels of paraffin. So they were having a an improvised sea anchor that was of heavy nylon rope, and with that they were having 22 liters of kerosene, you can say, kind of barrel, a kind of kerosene is the synonym of this. So this is it for the day, and in the next video we'll be doing this chapter completely. Have a good day.